Good evening, Demon Phil, Comics and More New Jersey here. And we've got an interview for you this evening. It's same thing as it's been in the past and everything. If you'll let me know in the comments you can see and hear me, I'd appreciate that. And let's get this shared out. We're looking at probably, give us about a minute or two here, get some more people involved, and then we'll get started on this. Let me see, getting my end of it shared here, and we'll get going here shortly. So again, if you'll let me know in the comments you can see and hear me, I'd appreciate that. And then let's go ahead and get it shared out. Hope everyone had a great day. Everything's been going pretty cool. Getting ready to blow everything up tomorrow. So, you know, that's about to happen. So, all right, my end is set up here. I've got a couple of eager guests in the background that are ready to get up here. So we're going to have some fun with this tonight. And someone apparently is messaging me. There we go. All right. So we'll give it about another minute here and we will get started with this. Scott, what's going on, buddy? Appreciate you being here. Give us just a moment, get it set up here. All right, let me go ahead and remove the banner and we will make this official. All right, Demon Phil, Comics and More New Jersey here with another interview tonight. This one's going to be fun. This one is, well, we'll just leave it at fun for now. Whenever I bring them out, you'll know what I'm talking about. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and go over our sponsors right now. Sub-Zero Mission, first one I always bring up. That's most important as far as I'm concerned because they actually go out in their area and save lives by going ahead and giving the tools necessary, as in coats and sleeping bags, things like that, to the homeless vets that are out there. So if you don't know enough about that, definitely jump in on that. If you need to know more information, reach out to me and I'll give you any information you need. Codex Entertainment is next up. That's Luis Torres. That's Little the Demoness #4, which is on Kickstarter right now. Jump on there and get involved and be a backer on that one. You don't want to miss out on that one. 183 Degree Studio, which is Kara Nicole and Alfred Trujillo. They finished up with Confessions of a Cosplay Diva. They've got some more stuff that is in the works even as we speak, just hasn't been launched yet, and they're being very quiet about it. So keep your eyes and ears open because that's about to get a lot more interesting on their end. We've got Third Empire, which has got Mojo Rising, which should be releasing within the next week or so, I'm hoping. There's been a lot of complications on there, so get your mojo on. Comic Art Groupie, which is Wendy Steen Shaner. Wendy Steen Shaner has got Naughty Fairy Stripper Assassins #4 on Kickstarter right now, and it is doing a great job as well. If you're not a part of that, please get on board with that one. Pantsless Pizza is our other sponsor we got on here because, you know, can't go wrong with Pantsless Pizza. If you don't know enough about that, big reveals going to be coming on that. And we're going to finish it off with the first one that I usually kind of lead off with, which is Totally Rad Comics. Now, the reason I waited till the end on this one is because I have a couple of gentlemen here from Totally Rad Comics. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring them out on here. We have got Giovanni Barunda.
Hello.
And the Clown King himself, Jim Noble.
Hello, everybody.
All right. Welcome to the show, guys.
Happy to be here. Unscripted episode. Oh, wait. Nope. That's next week. I'm so used to it.
Yeah. This is not unscripted. Don't go there. No.
This is proper one. This is where you wear a suit and tie.
Russell Allen is in here. Eve is here. Eve, thank you for being here. And we've got Angry Artist is in the house.
In the house.
We got a good little group going here. All right, so before we go ahead and get too much involved in all this and everything, for anybody that's out there that doesn't know who y'all are, Giovanni, we'll start with you. Who are you? What do you do? And where to find you?
Well, my name is Giovanni Barunda. I'm a writer. I've been working with Jim for about a year now, right, Jim?
It's been about a year.
Yeah, exactly. So I just did a short story for Totally Represents featuring a character I created, which is a throwback to the 80s slasher movies and the 70s giallo movies. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really hearing good positive feedback about that story. So I'm excited about that. And I have one of the big stretch goals for the current Kickstarter for Violet 3 was a short story featuring my feature that I wrote, which is a really cool story that I really can't wait for people to check out. And I'm also a filmmaker and all around film buff and comic book reader. And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram under Giovanni B83.
Cool. And what about you, Jim? Do you do anything?
I do things. I drink and I do things. I am Jim E. Noble. I am the creator and owner of Totally Rad Comics. I do everything from 80s action to 80s horror to horror, Horror, not to be confused with whore, WHORE. Just want to throw it out there. Although one of my characters did used to be a whore. And anything you love from the 80s, I do. I also do sexy space stories as well. You could find my newest space story that I wrote and co-created in Rax #1, which is featured on the Totally Rad Life of Violet #3 Kickstarter, which is going on right now, which last I checked, we were at $19,721 with 202 backers.
Very cool. Russell's already firing shots over there, which is not, abnormal.
I saw his tiny remark. My girlfriend begs to differ.
Not unscripted. Not unscripted.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, we're on Facebook. Oh, okay. Let me church it up there.
All right. So I'm going to start off with Giovanni on this one. For this right here, I'm going to say, what comics influence you getting involved with writing comics and getting into especially Totally Rad?
Well, for me, I've always loved comic books since the time. Actually, I remember it was '92. I was at a swami in Pomona. We used to live there back in the day, and my parents took me to a swami where this guy had a table full of comics. And at that point, I was into the Batman cartoon and the X-Men, and so I went there and I got excited because I saw X-Men, I saw Batman, and one of the first things I was gravitated towards was Spawn. That was the time that Spawn #1 came out, all that stuff. So I ended up just buying a bunch of that stuff. So I've always had a love for just kind of like more indie books and more genre-based books. But my real passion for stuff that would come help me out with Totally Rad would be eventually. I've always been a film buff ever since I was a little kid. My parents, since we came from a low-income family, where there wasn't much we could do, so my parents would take us to go rent movies all the time. So I was way too young to be watching Hellraiser. So apparently my parents thought it was totally acceptable to just put me in front of the TV with my brother, and we ended up watching Friday the 13th. We watched Hellraiser, for the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. So I had a love for horror. So eventually, after high school, I got into more underground horror stuff. I got into Italian horror movies. I got into Spanish horror movies and Japanese and Korean horror movies and stuff like that. And eventually, I fell in love. I kind of went backwards. I fell in love with modern stuff, and then I went back and discovered who influenced this director. Oh, it was this director, and then I checked out their movies. And eventually, I just got into the point where now I just enjoy really cheesy genre stuff from the 80s and the 70s, especially if it's from the 80s. Because for me, the 80s have the certain nostalgia factor to me because I was born in the 80s. But for me, I love everything about it. The music, I love the style of it, the aesthetic of it, and also I love the fact that a lot of 80s stuff, even though they're low budget or cheesy, a lot of it was made with passion and with heart. A lot of these people, this is their only time making a movie, so they're trying to do the best they could, even though unfortunately the movie did not come out so good. But for me, for me, I get an enjoyment of telling these type of stories because it's the type of stuff that I grew up watching. So eventually, there's a nod in a script for Neon that eventually is going to come out where I reference this. Okay, so when Flashdance came out, there's a bunch of knockoff movies, right? And one of them is called Heavenly Bodies, and it's one of my favorite of all times. And I saw it in a theater at a midnight show where people were drinking, and I was driving, so I was sober. So, but the movie it's just great watching a movie with a crowd that enjoys, that gets the fact that, yeah, it is a bad movie, but, we're enjoying it together. It's about the experience of it. And so I hope for people to really, I hope to make the type of stuff that I would enjoy watching.
And that makes complete sense with that, absolutely. And Tom even said 80s was the most epic pop culture era ever. And yeah,
It was totally rad.
Exactly. I don't know. I just, for me, 80s, the 80s, for me, I just enjoy 80s music a lot more than 90s. For me, everything was better in the 80s. Like the new wave was better. The catchier songs were, the 80s metal was more better for me, my taste. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, Metallica's only albums are the first like 4 albums. That's it. After Injustice for All, they don't exist to me. Sorry.
Oh wow.
Hate mail.
Now, Jim, what about you?
Well, I mean, there's a lot that inspired me. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Chris Claremont's run in the X-Men was a big thing for me. I grew up on that. First comic I ever read was X-Men 129, first appearance of Kitty Pryde. I grew up on my dad's old comics and then eventually got into comics, into the modern comics. And one of the more modern comics that I got into was Zombie Tramp, done by Dan Mendoza at the time. And seeing the stuff that he was doing was just like, wow, like I want to be doing cool stuff like this. This is really awesome. And I'm also a huge fan of the 1980s. I mean, I love the movies, the styles, the music. I mean, not just the movies. I mean, the music videos of the 80s, the golden age of music videos where freaking Bret Michaels and CeCe DeVille are telling me to talk dirty to them and have nothing but a good time doing it. So I love that. And, nothing but playing in factories that only manufacture dry ice and sparks. I love hair metal, and I actually do plan on doing a hair metal book. But yeah, I mean, and as far as movies goes, I mean, you name any 80s movies, I've at least seen it once, if not 5 times, if not, in the case of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, at least 100 times, if not more. But also I love, there's some stuff in the 90s I love, but not as much as the 80s, and as well as the 70s and 60s as well. But again, the 80s is where it's at, and that's where Totally Rad is at, and will always be at. Now, we might do other things that are outside of the 80s, but the main thing with Totally Rad is we are based in the 1980s. And we are looking for nothing but a good time. And you can talk dirty to us if you want. Oh, wait, I forgot. We're not on Unscripted.
Hey, now, Jim, I'm going to ask you a question on this one because, Giovanni, I'm going to ask you the same question, but later on, because I wanted to talk about your setup on this too. So what other titles do you have besides the Totally Rad Life? I mean, what other titles do you have that you work on or that you currently have out that you can talk about?
Okay, so currently what that we have out, we have Totally Rad Life of Violet, number 1 through 3 is on Kickstarter right now. We have Strange Cosmic Tales, which is my all-ages story, my first all-ages. That is currently out. It is a Bollywood homage story that is black and white, super awesome. You should totally check it out on my Totally Rad web store. I also have Roxy Feelgood's Summer Special, which is coming out this July. Well, actually, that's this month. It's coming out in 2 weeks. I also have the Topless Babes from Outer Space, which is featured in Totally Rad Comics Presents, which was my previous Kickstarter, which also featured Giovanni's Neon, and Neon the Next Victim will be one of our upcoming titles in October. There we go. He's got it all. Yeah. And then another title that we have coming out this August is the Totally Rad Adventures of Zira, which is our cave woman story, cave woman lost in the psychedelic times of the 1980s, the concrete jungle, if you will. The neon lights. So that's coming out in August. October, we have Neon the Next Victim, number 1, as well as the Totally Rad Life of Violet, number 4. Originally, that was going to be Roxy Feelgood, number 1, but we decided why not just do it in October for issue 4 and make Roxy's number 1 in July with the Roxy Summer Special. So Roxy Summer Special is going to be a bigger story, 2 stories, the Roxy number 1 story and the Roxy Summer Special story. And I think people would really like it. It's super X-rated just for all you people under 18 out there. So when you go to my site, click I agree I am over the age of 18 and get your mom and dad's credit card, and then you can buy my book.
Well, I mean, that's why I was bringing up, because you do the adult comics and everything, but you also have the all ages as well. So it kind of gives you a little bit of versatility on there. And then there's talks of expanding off of that as well and doing some more of the all ages that are involved. But you'll keep doing, of course, the adult. But it gives you something to have where you can appeal to the different people that are out there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and we also have the Totally Rad Wars. Don't want to forget that. That's our Star Wars X-rated parody featuring all the Totally Rad girls.
What's up, Lewis? Welcome to the show. So in branching off of that, now I was going to go ahead and segue over to Giovanni on this one, because with Neon, that's your baby there. So you want to go ahead and tell us what you can about that one?
Well, you know, Neon for me has been a passion project. I've kind of talked about it recently on Facebook, but originally it was so after high school, I kind of wanted to be a writer. I wanted to screenwrite, and I studied it. I went to film school and stuff like that. And during this whole time, I wrote a lot, and I wrote a lot of horror spec scripts and stuff like that. And a lot of that stuff, there were some projects that I got involved with where it looked like they might happen, and then they never did. But going back, Neon was originally one of those stories that I conceived like over 10 years ago. The original premise of it, where it was inspired really by the 70s Giallo movies. And for anybody who's a big, 80s, who's a big like Italian cinema fan, those are really, think of a Brian De Palma erotic thriller. It's basically that, but the Italian way. So there are lots of murders, lots of hot chicks, really insane plot, and a mass killer with gloves and a hat. And so for me, it was my take on that. And so when I originally pitched the story to Jim, we started just talking about mutual love of 80s stuff. And then I got the idea one day of just mixing it in with the 80s, 80s slashers. And so I pitched the story as a 4-issue miniseries, this first miniseries. And I'm pretty excited about it. It's a really complex story. It has a lot of ins and outs, and I'm hoping that people will really enjoy the characters, as well as delivering, the blood, nudity, and insanity that you expect from, an 80s genre movie. And, for me, I believe, when people can see that, what you're creating is something from the heart, something like you're passionate about, people will enjoy it a lot more. And I'm hoping people will really like the story and really, like I said, I'm hoping to get good feedback from it, because, I've already written all 4 issues. So one of the things I've done with Jim is like I bugged him a lot, because since the story is kind of complex, I wanted to have the whole thing written already, so that way I would try to catch any plot holes, because I didn't need some comic book guy telling me, "Hey, excuse me, but in issue 5 of Neon, she's clearly wearing a shirt that says this and this, but that brand was not existed in 1983." So I tried my best to kind of, make sure stuff sticks to that era that it takes place in. And so, and then also for the Violet fans, Violet also has a big part in that series as well. So
Yep.
it serves as a prequel in a kind of way to her series. And so it's kind of exciting to kind of play with Jim's character and really kind of do my own spin on it, but also stay respectful to what Jim is doing, and not in that way, Jim.
Ah.
But it's just kind of, a lot of times I think as creators we're kind of precious with our creations, or like, oh, it's only my vision of this and this and that. And one thing that I like about working with Jim is that he's really let me keep the things that I want to do, write the stories how I want to write it, but also gives me advice when I need it, or I run stuff by him and he'll let me know, okay, this is the better way. Because originally Neon had a different story. I was going to take it a different route. Halfway through it, I told Jim, I got this crazy idea. What do you think? And he was like, do it. I'm like, all right. So, if you really want like a story that's going to kind of go places you don't expect, it's all Jim's fault.
Well, we expect that, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully I plan on hopefully writing more with for Jim and stuff like that. And there's other kind of stories I like to do. A lot of it, is 80s, because that's just the stuff that I love. For me, that's the genre, that's the era that I love, and that a lot of the stuff I enjoy is from that era. So I kind of just want to play in that playhouse.
Yeah.
No, eventually,
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense with that and everything, and I love the premise, for your character and everything in this, because it doesn't go with the same storyline that we've already gotten, so it takes you on a totally different path with this, which is great. But you're still sticking with the '80s, and I like that. Make sure she has a swatch. She's got to be wearing a swatch.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The
And
brighter, the better. That's what I used to think.
oh yeah, exactly. And that's one thing where it's kind of like when I'm writing that issue, when I'm writing this, when I was writing the series, just trying to have everything line up with that era. And I was like, oh, dude, I really love this song. God damn it, it came out in 1984.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, fine. I have to limit myself, okay, because the story took place in 1983. And so for me, that's a big year because that's the year I was born. So for me,
Yeah.
I kind of like having stuff in that era. So it's just writing stuff and that, trying to. Luckily, a lot of the songs that I love are before '83, so I can go with it. But I wrote this perfect scene, this perfect kill, and I wrote it to this one song, and I researched it. I'm like, nope, can't use it.
Tom is bringing up. Everybody watch Hot Tub Time Machine. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
oh
That's
Yeah.
it's just it's just because I don't know. For me personally, I just think that a lot of people use the '80s nostalgia or stuff like that as a gimmick, and a lot of times you can tell like some people are just doing it just because it's a gimmick. And I mean, one thing I like about Jim is that when we started first talking about '80s stuff, he knew about the most random '80s shit that we're the most random '80s stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you can tell like a real fan of the '80s would get. So that was one of the things where it's like, okay, this the guy definitely enjoys all the same I do and has a real love of the '80s, and that's really important to me because I want to be respectful to that era and those and the characters, but also have fun.
yeah. I mean, I grew up in that era, and Jim seems to know more about the '80s than I even do.
I watch a lot of the same things over and over again. I'll watch Behind the Music, Huey Lewis and the News at least 20 times. All those bands, Hall and Oates and Def Leppard, Motley Crue, any documentaries I can find on music and TV shows and movies, the making of those movies in the '80s, and it doesn't have to be just fun movies. It could also be Stanley Kubrick movies like Full Metal Jacket.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing where it's like the '80s was I think was really rich on serious movies, like genre stuff, and then really bad low budget stuff that was made, especially like the low budget horror films and from the '80s. Like I love like the '80s slashers. So like you'll get movies like Bloody Moon, which is like a Spanish slasher, and it's super bad. It's like badly dubbed, and it's amazing. And then Sleepaway Camp, right? You get
You mentioned Flashdance earlier, and there is an '80s slasher called Slashdance.
Oh, it is. I love that movie. It's also called The Robicide.
Yeah.
Come on, it has aerobic chicks and a killer.
Yep.
It's dude, that's fantastic. I don't know why, but like that movie Heavenly Bodies, it's like a ripoff of Flashdance, right? So there's like a dance scene where at the end of the movie they have to have a basically they have to have a dance off for no goddamn reason at all, and the music is really catchy and it's really awesome, and it's just like, see, this is amazing. Too bad it's a bad movie.
It's like Footloose.
I would with that right there.
Totally Rad, Big Trouble, and Little Child. I look, Giovanni will agree with me on this. We've both met John Carpenter, right? You've met John Carpenter, correct?
Yes.
So Big Trouble, like out of all the things I could have gotten John Carpenter to sign, I love They Live. They Live is going to be my all-time, hands down favorite John Carpenter film. However, the one thing I got him to sign, and it wasn't The Thing, and it wasn't Halloween, it was Big Trouble in Little China.
Me too.
Kurt Russell in that movie, Kim Cattrall. Oh my God.
When I was in line to meet him, right? Everyone else had like Halloween, all the typical stuff. Me,
Yeah.
I'm all about Big Trouble in Little China. And when I got to meet him, I was like, this movie shaped my childhood because it's one of those things where you watch it over and over again. And when I became an adult, I finally got that, I finally got the point of the story that the main character is not the hero. The sidekick is a hero.
Yeah.
Right? Jack Burton is technically
on the old Pork Chop Express.
Yeah, he's technically the sidekick of the whole movie because he constantly screws up the whole time. Except he thinks he's the hero. And that's what makes that movie so perfect, because the writing is so sharp.
He goes in with the submachine gun and shoots it up in the ceiling, and it knocks him out. It's just like it would happen. That would happen to that guy.
Dude, he screws up every single chance he has to be a hero, and that's why I like his character a lot, because he's really good natured. He's, he wants to do the right thing, but he constantly screws up. And it's his friend, the guy that you wouldn't think, he's the one who's the badass who has to fight everybody. And the movie's just perfect. And it's like, I got to meet him. I was like, thank you so much for, inspiring me to want to be a storyteller, because, what I mean, for me, John Carpenter is his own genre in movies, as far as I'm concerned. Like all his movies are his own. He can do, like you ever seen In the Mouth of Madness?
Oh yeah.
Fantastic. And then like for me, it's like I'll look at it. I've looked at his films from the start until like the more recent ones, and no matter what quality of movies they might be, they're always his own style, and that's what I respect about him. I respect filmmakers that make their own, have their own voice in a place where you're expected to just shoot and cut, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's pretty much his own genre. I mean, it's whenever you talk about horror movies, there's horror movies, and then there's John Carpenter, which is on another level with that, because his movies automatically, as soon as you're watching, you're like, that's a John Carpenter movie. You automatically know. You just get that feel from it.
Oh yeah, exactly. John Carpenter, Wes Craven, George Romero. Yeah, they all have their unique style to films. And
exactly, and that's what I enjoy about, especially about like a lot of the 80s stuff. A lot of these filmmakers really came out with their own unique voices, like Wes Craven stuff. I know he did stuff in the 70s, stuff like that, but Nightmare was just perfection. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, where it's like, you look at Tobe Hooper, right? He did a lot of good movies back in that era, and so did a lot of like these really good filmmakers came from that era.
Oh yeah, Tobe Hooper, man. Poltergeist. Oh wait, that was Spielberg. Oh no, it was Tobe Hooper. I'm pretty sure it was Spielberg.
Oh yeah, there goes that debate.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like
wait, hold on. Phil, pull that comment back up real quick.
All right.
He definitely forgot to spell Teen Wolf wrong.
Wow. Well, that's okay, because you're saying that because he can't hear you anyway.
Oh yeah.
And then of course you can't go wrong with this right here.
Oh yeah.
Terminator.
Oh no.
Terminators. Hell, I gotta hold on a second. Actually, I got
one-liners that are in there.
And the movie is structured like a slasher movie.
Yeah,
for the most part, it's a slasher movie.
Oh, let me full screen. There you go. And I love it because the glasses actually show Roxy in there, whereas on the movie it actually has the lights in there of the open sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first Terminator, it's just like it works so well, and it's like such a really minimalistic score, and it's just really good how the sequel went in a totally different direction.
Yeah.
But the first Terminator for me, it's just like I grew up watching that one, and like it made me a big fan of Arnold. So ever since then, like I watch any movie he comes out in.
Arnold as a villain, you don't see that very often, and Terminator is probably the best film as Arnold as the bad guy. I mean, you look at all these other movies that came out. He's not a bad guy in Predator. He's not a bad guy in Twins. He's not a bad guy, and just about all the Conan the Barbarian. I mean, he's a barbarian, but he's the hero.
Right.
Exactly. It's because you get a good character, you get a good actor with a good, charisma and stuff like that. You can easily put him in all these types of movies. That's something I feel today's movies don't have. You don't have today's modern action stars don't have that charisma. A lot of it is now fast editing because they, he throws a punch and they do 5 different cuts to show you that he's a badass.
Way to go, Keanu Reeves.
He'll always be Bill and Ted to me.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for Face the Music. That's I'm a huge Bill and Ted fan. Like ever since Bill and Ted Bogus Journey, I've always wanted Keanu Reeves to go back to that role. I was tired of seeing Keanu Reeves as the action star. Like he's in The Bus That Never Slows Down. He's in the surfing movie. He's in the movie where he's a computer generator. He's like the #1 computer program.
That's
Yes.
a good movie, man. That's a really good movie.
Last Action Hero.
Directed by John McTiernan and co-written by Shane Black.
Shane Black. Yep.
Hey, Allison, welcome.
Just stopping by. Enjoy the show. You should watch the whole thing, Allison.
Well, that depends. I mean, well, it's not unscripted, so we should be okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not throwing out around. I can't even say what I'm throwing around. So yeah, we're good.
No, don't do that. Well, I mean, we talked about the '80s, the movies, stuff like that, and everything. I had something else that was written down here. Let me see if I can find it. I am so sorry. My nose is so red today. I don't know what happened.
Oh yeah.
I want to talk about it's right on the tip of my nose. I can't think of what it is.
I'm assuming it has something to do with Roxy Feelgood.
There's something about clowns, Kickstarter, something that's going on. Totally Rad Life of Violet #3, maybe?
3. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. What's going on with the Kickstarter? So what are you offering? Where's your standings on that? What do you have coming up with it? What's going on?
Now, last I counted, now bear with me. I never graduated high school. So last I counted, there's over 42 Totally Rad Life of Violent variants to choose from on that Kickstarter. And I believe there's about 20 Rax #1 covers to choose from. And there's about to be 6 more that are going to be uploaded later this weekend. And I mean, I have so many different artists. You got Ryan Kincaid, you got Piper Rudick, you got Wendy Shaner, you got Steph Wilson and Carrie Ann, you got, Pablo Romero, Trevor Grace. I mean, the list goes on. I got so many artists for you to choose from. If you like one artist, you like another, you like all the artists, you can get all the artists' the covers that you want. You could pick out any cover you want, and for between $15 to $25, that cover is yours. And we are offering. We've unlocked the extra story in Violet #3. We've unlocked multiple stickers, holographic stickers, regular stickers, magnets, mini prints, all that free to any backer that backs this Kickstarter right now. We are currently at 202, and if you back by this weekend, we are now announcing a 200 backer stretch goal as well this weekend. And I'm going to be a little lenient, and any backer that's backed as of Sunday at midnight will get the 200 backer stretch goal as well.
Now, I have got your project is actually on the ticker down low right now, but it is also attached to both feeds, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. So you can go over there and click on that and go directly to it. So if you're not a part of this, jump on it. And hopefully I got that. I'm trying to shoot from the hip on this one. I hope I hit that one on the nose.
And there is a Sexy Clown free sticker that you'll get. Hey, Roxy Feelgood, where she's popping her boob out.
I was going to say, I have a sticker because I don't pop boobs out very often. Anyway.
I gotta get one of those noses. I mean, it would fit me well. I am the clown, the king of the clowns, the sexy clowns, not these scary clowns. I do beautiful clown stories and not the stories that make people afraid of clowns. I don't do those types of stories. I make the stories that make you love clowns. I turn your fears into fantasies. That's my goal at Totally Rad Comics.
Yeah. See, over here on my show, this turns fantasies into fears whenever I wear this. So let me go ahead and take that one.
When they make a biofilm on Jim, it'll be called Beautiful Clown Mind.
There we go.
I love it. I'll buy that for $1.
I don't know who they're going to get to play you and who they're going to get to play me.
I think they should. Well, I can't think of any actor today that I like. It would have to be an 80s actor, actually. I think Jesse McCarthy or maybe. What am I thinking? Either Christian Slater or why can't I say his name? Oh, God damn it. He's in some of my favorite movies too. Shit. Guy with the glasses and the hair. He was in Dune, not Kurt Russell. Why am I can't think of his name. I'm blanking on his name. I own all of his movies. He's not Dune. He's in Stargate. He's not Kurt Russell. He's the other guy.
Oh God,
Ultron. Voice of Ultron. Who's the voice of Ultron?
I know who you're talking about. Oh, let me look it up.
He's in he's in 16 Candles. He's also in what's that other movie? Why am I drawing blanks? Oh man, I'm totally screwing up already. I'm sure there's probably people in the comments right now just screaming out his name.
James Spader.
James Spader. I knew it was James something. I was like, James Woods? No, it's not James Woods. He's in freaking Videodrome. James Spader.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Scott,
there we go. 80s James Spader, or hell, I'll go with an 80s Robert Downing Jr. to play the younger me, but the older me has to be played by somebody else because the 80s Ronnie Downey Jr. was a drug addict and into alcohol and all that stuff. Yeah, he can play the younger me. The older me could be played by, I don't know, like Dudley Moore, Philip Seymour Hoffman. I think I'm naming like everyone who's dead now. Chris Farley.
I'd like to see Chris Farley play him.
Now, going back to your Kickstarter and everything, because you've got everything that's available on there right now, and you just released, I believe it was today or yesterday, the information regarding the connecting covers, because we have Wendy in the audience right now.
Yes, that was today it was at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we released 2 connecting covers. So it's a Totally Rad Life of Violet #3 and Naughty Fairy Stripper Assassins #4, and they formed together a single image, and it features my character and Wendy's character. And for $20, you could add on the Violet on my campaign, you could add $20 to get it. On Wendy's campaign, you can add $20 to get it. There's also limited to 15 holo foils that are $30 each on both campaigns that you can add on. But if you do add on the foil, make sure you message us directly so we know once we hit that 15 cap, and then we can let you know it's sold out. So far, I think I have maybe about 5 or 6 foils left to be added on to mine. I'm not sure about Wendy's, but I'm getting close to being sold out of the foil connecting covers.
And who was the artist on this? Some small.
Oh, the King of the Circles, Steph Wilson and Carrie Ann.
Carrie does a good job, yeah.
He's good with the circles.
No, I got to give Steph hell.
He's a wonderful artist. He's done on this campaign alone. He has done, I believe, last I checked, 6 different covers for this Kickstarter.
Yeah, and that's just on your project. He's all over everything else too. So I don't understand how that's happening. But yeah, Wendy agrees. Steph and Carrie killed those covers. And she even said those foils are going fast.
They are. They really are. I mean, if you're watching this now, it might already be too. If you're watching this on another date, it might be too late. But if it's not too late, get it while you can, because these are going to be super rare and limited, and you're going to, wish that you never missed out on these.
And Wendy said she thinks she has 8 Steph covers, so she's got you beat, Jim.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Steph.
Good old Steph Wilson.
Well, I mean, he is. I mean, 8 in hers, 6 in yours. He's got a couple of them in CVs, if I'm not mistaken.
I think 2?
Yeah, I think so, at least.
I want to say 2.
Yeah. And then, of course, Lewis's, he's got, in there as well. So he's got his hands in a lot of cookie jars on this one.
He's all over Kickstarter. He's the king of the circles in Kickstarter.
No, he's good people. So, I mean, it's good working with him and everything on all this. And you've got a lot going on with the Kickstarter, and it's doing well. You're just shy of 20 grand. I mean,
that's double our previous Kickstarters combined.
I talk to you on a pretty regular basis, so each time you come up with a number on there, you're like, holy crap. And I mean, you're freaking out over there because, like you said, double of what you've done, and it's still going. You're not done. You still have other things to release, going into this, because you're sneaky that way.
Yeah.
There'll be more people that'll be joining on. Plus, you got that 48-hour pop at the end and all. So you've got a lot of things going with there, but you've got a lot going with it that's giving you a good forward momentum. So what is your main, like, if you had a chance to go ahead and do your sales pitch right now, if my show was able to reach, 1,000 people or so, if you were to do your sales pitch right now to go ahead and get those that aren't, they have no knowledge of it or anything, give us your sales pitch. I'm going to give you full screen to do this too.
Okay. Oh man, put me on the spot here. All right, I love it. So if you love anything about the 80s and you're an adult, I'm hoping you're an adult when you see this, you'll definitely love my books. There's all these 80s references. Any 80s reference, you might look at it and go, wait a minute, that sounds familiar, and realize, wow, that's a quote from this movie, or that background, that's a background, I've seen that background, that's the name of the hospital in Return of the Living Dead. Stuff like that. Oh my God, that's Eddie Murphy, it's Pee Wee Herman, it's Huey Lewis from Huey Lewis and the News. Anything from the 80s you love, you might be able to find in my story, if not once, twice, 3 times. You never know. Now, this is issue 3. We do have issue 1 and 2 combined that you could buy for $25. That's a deal if you ask me, considering the prices of my other books that have sold out since issues 1 and 2. And also, not only, if you're like, well, I don't know if I want to get an 80s comic right now, that's all right. We also have another comic that's not based in the 1980s. It's actually based in outer space. And it's about sexy alien hunters who go down from planet to planet and collecting trophies. Imagine Predator, but with pretty ladies and no weird-looking faces of the teeth. So if you're into sci-fi, we got a book for you. If you're into the 80s, we got a book for you. If you're into adult, we got 2 books for you combined. So you name it, we got it. For the low price, the cheapest price is $15, $5 shipping, $20. That's a deal for a totally rad comic book.
That's a hell of a sales pitch there. So if you're not involved, I would get involved in that. And I will say from experience, and I know most everyone that's in the audience, Giovanni included as well, we've never had a problem with, fulfillment and getting our stuff in a really good amount of time. And it always comes well done, well packaged and everything. And if there's something wrong, they always take care of you on it. So
yes,
don't worry about any of that.
Exactly, now, which is what you want,
Exactly. Now, I'm going to go ahead and shift gears here just a little bit, and this is going to be for Giovanni and Jim on this. So we are not able to attend the cons and everything right now, and more of them kind of getting shut down, which really sucks, but I mean, it's a safe thing to do. So what I would like to do is spin it into a positive on there and say, what has been some of your best memories in a con? Start with you, Giovanni.
Well, for me, I think the biggest part has been, over the last 2-3 years, meeting other independent creators and just getting to know that there's a lot of people who started off how I was starting off, just trying to, well, the thing for me is okay, a couple years ago, I found myself without a job. I was laid off, and I was going to film school, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so I ended up going to a book signing and just talking to a couple creators, and they ended up giving me really solid advice. They're like, hey, look, everybody starts where you're at. It's not an impossible thing. And so thankfully, later on, I would I started going more to conventions and just talking to other local creators, not going to the big people, but also just going to the local guy with the book he put on himself. And it made me realize, hey, you can do this too. It's not a magic formula or something like that. If you have a passion, if you have something you want to tell, then it's something that you can easily put out with hard work. And so that was one thing that it really opened my eyes through going to conventions, was just that I realized that it was something that was achievable. And so I just, I practice, I just use that to motivate myself to just kind of work on my craft, because originally I started off as a screenwriter. So I kind of learned that formula. And so having to switch over to comic books was kind of a difference, because you're going from you're going from a way of writing where you're not supposed to tell the director what's going on. You're supposed to tell the story, but not direct in any type of way, to going to a type of writing where you have to direct everything. You have to tell what's going on in the panel, what the layout, all that stuff like that. So for me, it was, just an eye-opening experience of, hey, I can do this too, and it's not impossible. And just another big thing is just meeting, creators that I really looked up to. Like, one of the first comic books I ever bought was Spawn, and then finally meeting Todd McFarlane and have him give me, advice about making comic books. It's just, you can't, when you have that powerful experience with a, creator who ends up being an awesome person to a fan, it makes you want to go like, I want to be like that guy. I want to treat, I want to be the same type of creator there is, because, we're all in that position at one time in our lives. Todd McFarlane was a fan as well, and he got famous a few hundred rejection letters before he even made it into comic books. So it's something like, we all start off, in this way, we all start off somewhere, and eventually, hopefully through hard work and passion, we can all get to the point where they're at, where, people want you to sign their books. And I'm still getting used to that, by the way. What's my long-winded answer?
What about you, Jim?
Well, actually, I think in recent memories, in the last year, 2019, meeting Larry Wells and talking to Larry Wells, of Underground Comics, and eventually getting to work with him on his future Cherry Comics. I mean, that was to me, that was the equivalent of Stan Lee saying, "Hey, do you want to write Spider-Man?" I mean, that was a pretty big deal to me. But also, I'm a huge horror fan. I don't just go to comic conventions. I go to sci-fi cons. I go to horror cons. I don't go to adult cons. Well, not yet. But last year I went to Texas Frightmare, and the entire weekend I drove around Dan Mendoza, Dave DeWatch, and Sean Gabarine. Now you might think, I mean, they know who Dan Mendoza is. They might not know who Dave or Sean is. And Sean, he's currently writing a story called Let's All Die, and Shark Squatch. Dave DeWatch, he did the Prom of the Dead comic book, and he does so much amazing other work, not just in comics but also video games. And of course, Dan Mendoza, the creator of Zombie Tramp, Sad Girl, Psycho Baby, the Still Ill Princess universe. Going out on that Saturday night and sitting with those guys and being treated not as a fan but as a friend, that was a pretty big deal to me, because it was just like, this is like sitting at the table with, like Roy Thomas and Stan Lee, and then, they're talking shop about the comic book industry, and Bill McKay was there as well, and it's just like, wow, this is freaking amazing. You got these amazing writers, amazing artists, and just like, and you just absorb all the knowledge that they give you. And then at the time when I went to dinner with him, I was almost done with Violet. The pages were done, just the lettering wasn't done yet, and it wasn't printed yet. And I remember showing them the pages from that and getting some advice, and it's just like, wow, I took it in stride, man. It really kind of molded me into the creator that I am now. Just the guys like that. I mean, to take the time to talk to me, that was a pretty big deal, because I thought I wasn't really anybody, and
Now,
yeah, exactly. Dan has been really cool with me. I've met him as well. Sorry, Phil. But yeah, he's really awesome. And he was one of those creators I talked to when I was at going to conventions early on, and he gave me a lot of good advice on making comic books, and basically say, like, make what you want. Don't worry about making stuff that you think people will like. Just do what it is you want to do, and your audience will find you. You know what I mean?
Now, for those of you that don't know, Jim used to work for the grading company for CBCS, and Tom wants to know how excited you were to grade BDI books.
Honestly, I'll be honest. Grading BDI books was fun, because I'll tell you why. When I worked at CBCS for 5 years, I was known as the guy who would do all the independent books, but not just the independent books, the booby books. And I'm not saying Big Dog Inc. is the booby book central. However, there are covers that feature boobs, and usually 9 times out of 10, I would be the one getting all the Big Dog Inc. books, because one, I had done just about every single one, and Big Dog Inc. books to grade and write all the information down was pretty easy, because usually on just about all the Big Dog Inc. books that I graded, the writer was the same guy, some guy named Tom something. Oh, I can't remember his name. I think he was in the chat. I enjoy, and actually, recently I had talked to Tom For those of you who are watching, we've been on Unscripted a couple times together, and I graded one of his books, and in the indicia it said issue 225. And when I was grading at CBCS, I remember grading that book and handing it off to the other grader, and they were asking me, they're like, "Why does it say 225? I'm pretty sure there's not 224 issues." I was like, "I don't know. That's what the indicia says, so that's what we got to put. It's not a number one issue." And I didn't know what the deal with it was until like last weekend. I asked Tom, I was like, "Hey, what's the deal with that?" And he told me, and I was like, "That makes a lot of sense. I never knew that."
But it makes you think outside of the box. So it's not just your normal, slap it into a slab and put some lettering up there that says what it is, whatever.
Right.
You actually have to kind of think about it a little bit. And it's not just necessarily for the grader. We're talking about for the owner of it. So whenever you get it back and it says 225, you're kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Because you really want to know what's happening with this.
Right. And that also shows you that, for CBCS, we don't just throw bodies at books and get them slabbed. Like, I would take the time and learn about all these independent books. You could ask Chuck Pinot, his book that he just released that no one knew who Chuck Pinot was. And I literally graded and put the first appearance of his character on the label. And I met him like 2 weeks later, and he was like, "I'm surprised you even put that." It's like, I love indie comics, and it's literally my job to grade these books, but also to put information on the label, because the label is what sells these books. And it's what people want to see. Is they want to see a blank space. They want to see the first appearance. They want to see, oh, Superman's in a Batman comic book. Oh, Spider-Girl's in a Spider-Man book. That's what they want to see. And that's what I did for 5 years.
Well, I've actually got quite a few of the BDI books of my own that I need to get slabbed once I get settled in. So,
well, luckily I won't be grading them.
This is very true. This is very true.
No, I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying, like, those days are behind me.
I know what you mean. No, that's cool. I mean, it's that's kind of brings me into my next thing on here, because we kind of mentioned about the indies and all. So, and this is not a big tube bashing moment, so I want to go ahead and just put that out there right now, because too many people get involved in this kind of discussion and automatically it becomes bashing. I don't want to go negative on this. I just want to go with the positive. So the positive being, how much of an impact do each of you actually see indies making after all has been said and done over the past few months? And we'll start with you, Giovanni, on this one, because I just want to know how much you're seeing on your end, because everyone has a different perspective on things, and I just want to know what you're seeing.
For me, what I'm noticing just is like, when this whole thing started, I think a lot of people were really fearful about, like, oh, wow, people are not going to want to support Kickstarters and stuff like that. But I mean, if one thing I've learned definitely, and I think I've talked about this with Jim a lot, is that, a lot of people are using this as an opportunity to put out books, and there are people buying them. That's the thing. I think there's a lot more people supporting indie comics, because right now they're not getting their books from Marvel. They're not getting it from DC, because I think a lot of people are so used to, you're taught that you should only read Marvel and DC and that's it. And, I read a lot of Marvel and I read DC more, but I do read Marvel as well. I grew up reading Marvel, you know what I mean? But one thing is also, those aren't just the only books out there. There are other indie books out there. There are other creators out there doing their own things. And one thing I like about what's going on right now with this time, it seems like people just are craving for more, I guess, independent, more creator-driven books, as opposed to just something thrown together that was a screenplay, and now they just threw it out there as a comic book without caring about it, And that's the one positive thing I'm seeing right now, is just that. And I think Tom was talking about that on Facebook, about how indie books right now, that's where things are looking up right now, especially for people that are saying comic books are dying. It's like, yeah, because you're looking at the wrong places. I think indies are really starting to pick up a lot of that slack, and I think you're looking at a lot of new creators, a lot of independent voices coming out, from this. I hope is a new wave of creators coming out. You know what I mean?
I agree with you on that one. I mean, it makes complete sense, because with everything that's been going on, in the outside world and everything, and it's changed a lot of things. So there is no going back to, hey, let's go back to normal. Anybody who says that needs to be smacked in the back of the head. Sorry, it needs to happen every single time. And I'm throwing it out there, and if I'm offending anybody, well, smack on the back of the head for that one too. So sorry. But it's not going to be normal. There is no more normal. It's what I always try to say it as go to the new standard. So we're setting that new standard within the indie industry and everything. The big two are doing what they're doing, and they're making some changes, and I'm seeing some significant changes, especially with DC. And Marvel's now making some big changes on who they're bringing in with their crew over there. It's a compensation thing. It's like, okay, well, we've been pencils down for this long. How do we go ahead and bring some new followers into this? Well, the problem is with that is indies didn't go pencil down. In fact, Indies went ahead and handed out pencils, which is great because we've got all this new talent and everything that's involved in this. And not only that, but the indies learn more about this, using a camera, using a phone, using your social media. These are tools and these are weapons within this industry to use to go ahead and thrive within here. Even whenever we get back to whatever standard we're going to get to, those are things that you need to have in your arsenal to use, and indies have that now. So that's a huge thing with that. Now, Jim, what about you? What do you think about, where do you feel this is all going?
Well, being a independent publisher during the coronavirus time where everything shut down and the, Marvel and DC shutting down the printers, it was the most, for me and Totally Rad, it was the most creative time and it's the most productive time. Being able to put books out, and not only that, but being able to reach out to retailers who probably normally wouldn't take the time to consider Totally Rad Comics, who were looking for books to give out to their customers on a weekly basis, or to introduce their customers to something new and exciting. So it was a very big opportunity, and it's a growing opportunity, especially when all these mom and pop comic book shops and these comic book shops that have been around and now their way of life, was affected. And now they're saying, wait a minute, what's this Kickstarter thing? Wow, Kickstarter. There's all these independent comic books that are out there. It's like, well, I need to reach out to these independent guys and get these books into my shop. There's some, of course, there's always going to be the some that go, I don't know what Kickstarter is. I don't care to look into it. But then there's these open-minded comic book shop owners who are realizing, wait a minute, Kickstarter, like this guy made over $100,000. I don't know who Brian Pulido is, but I'd love to have his books in my comic book shop. Now, I'm not saying comic book shops don't know who Brian Pulido is. I'm sure every comic book shop know who he is at this point. If they don't, then now they do, because they looked into Kickstarter and they see these big money makers on these independent comic books.
Mm-hmm. And that makes complete sense as well. And it's a matter of getting your exposure out there. So even with shows like this, where we're doing, interviews and book reviews and things like that, it gets your exposure out on your products. And I can't believe I'm going to say this because we're not on Unscripted, but Jim enjoys having the exposure.
Truer words have never been spoken.
I couldn't think of another way around that one. It was like, not loud. Now, I got to say this because we've been talking about this and it's been some great information and all. However, Steph went ahead and put something in here, and I think Giovanni saw it because he started laughing. I started laughing over here. I don't think Jim's seen it yet, so let's let Jim see it.
Is this one of those shows or you interview? Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm not a millennial.
I'm not a millennial either, so I have no comment.
I'm sorry, I had to, because I saw Giovanni's face and I knew he had seen the comment, but you were the only one who hadn't seen it because I'm over here dying. And I'm trying to be professional and listen to you and everything, but it was, well played, Steph. Very well played. So, in kind of going with what we've talked about, with what's happening in the indies and everything and what's going to be brought out of this and everything, what's in the future for Totally Rad? What's in the future for Giovanni? Giovanni, we'll start with you. What's in the future? We know you've got Neon coming out. What time frame are we looking at? And do you have other projects? You don't have to tell us what, but do you have other projects you're working on as well?
Neon should be coming up. I talked about it with Jim earlier today, so I think October, right?
Yeah.
Perfect time for Halloween. And if you really like, a killer, a sexy chick serial killer, and also like a nice mind-tripping, erotic thriller, then you'll enjoy this one. I do have a book that that is coming out that I wrote. It was published through Kickstarter in May of last year. It's called Primal the Jungle Warrior, and I wrote issue 5. That's actually being finished up right now with the penciling and the coloring and all that stuff. It looks fantastic, and yeah, that should be coming out soon. All the backers who got that book should be getting that out soon. So I'm excited for people to read it and check it out. And yeah, right now I'm just mainly focusing on Neon right now, trying to get those scripts as tight as possible. No, Jim. I'm trying to get them as as I'm trying to work through them as best as I can and make sure that they're and hopefully I'll have more from Totally Rad coming out soon.
Yeah.
Cool. Jim, what about you? What's going on with Totally Rad? What's the future?
Woo! All right, so we got Totally Rad Life of Violet number 3 / Rax number 1. That's on Kickstarter right now. We got 12 days to go. We are at $19,721, 202 backers. Currently on Kickstarter, 12 days to go. Also, on the day after the Kickstarter, Roxy Feelgood's summer specials coming out. It's available for pre-order on my web store right now at TotallyRadComics.BigCartel.com. There's covers by Bill McKay. My mind went blank. Bill McKay, Steph Wilson, Carrie Ann. There's tons of variants that are available currently. Axebone. Oh yes, Eve, as you know, is also on there. I can't say Eve's name, so I just know her as Eve. I don't want to mess up her name. And also in August, we have the Totally Rad Adventures of Zira that's coming out. The pre-orders for that will be coming out soon. Dexina is another one of the cover artists for Roxy Feelgood's summer special, and also one of the cover artists for Totally Rad Adventures of Zira, as well as Wendy Shaner, who also did a cover for that Totally Rad Adventures story that's coming out in August. October, we have another Kickstarter that comes out. You know, God forbidding anything happens between now and then of COVID Part 2. We have Neon the Next Victim number 1. We have Totally Rad Life of Violet number 4. And then 2021, the only confirmed comic book that I have coming out that's officially coming out in 2021 will be the Neon Strikes Back, the X-rated Star Wars parody that will be coming out on May the 4th, 2021. Everything else, it's a surprise, and I can't even say what's going to happen in 2021. I can just tell you that it's going to be totally rad.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I know we're all looking forward to that, and you've got a lot of things that are going on with that, and keeping up with a lot of the projects that you've got going, and you're spacing it out enough to where everybody can go ahead and enjoy, have a moment to breathe, and then it's like, well, crap, here we go again, and take my wallet, and here we go. Let's do this. So, with everything that's going on and everything that's happening with it, I actually appreciate the way that you do that instead of trying to, cram in as much as you. Yeah, I cannot talk to Jim. I can't. I really can't. I say he's just going to be. Yeah, exactly. Like the kid.
No, go ahead, Phil. Say what you're going to say.
Yeah. Anyway, so you're trying to pile on as much as you. No, that's not working either. Anyway, there's too much going on at one time, and you're able to go ahead and still, keep moving forward with what you got. And I've got to commend you because almost 20 grand and you still got 13 days left. That is huge for this Kickstarter.
Yes.
So, and I will go ahead and say it was launched on your birthday. So maybe that's, an omen of some kind there that actually says that it was, destined to do well.
I wish my birthday was every month now.
No, but that's very cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to pan out. And then, of course, you got the cross promotions that are available on there as well.
Yes. Oh, let me mention the cross promotions. So yep. I'm doing a cross promotion of Wendy Shaner on Naughty Fairy Stripper Assassins number 4. I'm also doing a cross promotion for Luis Torres on Lily the Demoness number 4. 2 number 4s and then a number 3. I wish I was doing Violet number 4 just so it could be 4s across the board. Easy to remember. But unfortunately, it's Totally Rad Life of Violet number 3. So, but if you back our campaigns, you get these really cool, for Wendy and I, we're doing a really cool trading card by Alfred Lay. And for Lewis and I, we're doing a really cool print, also by Alfred Lay, Totally Rad artist. And also the cover art for the artwork for that print that we're doing with Lewis and I are doing, that is going to be a We're doing a crossover comic. It's not a crossover story. It's going to be the Totally Rad Life of Violet #1 and Lily the Demoness #1 combined in one issue with that cover. That will be available on the Totally Rad web store in the next few weeks. We haven't decided what date we're going to release it at, but it is coming soon.
Very nice. Now, is that going to be a Steph Wilson cover, I'm assuming?
No, it's the Alfred Lay art that for the artwork for the free print that you get for backing both our campaigns. We're using that artwork on the cover as well.
Oh, very cool. Okay, that is very cool. Very nice. All right. Well, hey, we've had a great time. We've learned a lot about the project and everything that's going on in all the 80s, the movies, and having some fun with some music and whatnot.
Woo!
So, before we go too far into the unscripted world on all this and get ourselves in trouble, we're going to go ahead and shut it off for the evening right now. But let's go ahead and start with Giovanni. If you'll go ahead and tell us where we can find you and all that good stuff, and we will go ahead and start shutting it down.
No problem. Yeah, I'm on Instagram mainly, so it's Giovanni B83. I'm on Facebook under just my name, Giovanni Brunda. And you can mainly find me there. I do have a link to a website where I have my short films and stuff like that. But yeah, that's mainly where you can find me at.
And Clown,
right,
what about you?
I'm Jimmy Noble. You can find me on Facebook, Jim E. Noble, as it's spelled right over here. Oh, I hate the mirror effect. Right over here. You can find me on Instagram, Jim.E.Noble. You can also find Totally Rad Comics on Facebook. We have a Facebook page. We also have a Kickstarter currently going on right now. Feel free to add me, message me. I'm always available to chat. No matter what you want to chat about, I am willing to chat about it.
All right. Let me go ahead and drop y'all back, and I'll finish this up and see y'all in a little bit.
Bye, everybody.
All right. So we had a great interview with them, learned quite a bit about the project and things that are going on, learned about the love of the 80s and all on there. Now, normally I have a closing statement on here. This is actually going to be a little bit different. I got a lot going on in personal life and whatnot and everything right now. So I'm just going to let you know kind of the schedule of what's going on. So I'm not having unscripted tomorrow night, 4th of July. I discussed it with some of the people who were interested in it, and the overall standing was, kind of skip a week. So we are going to be skipping tomorrow. So no unscripted tomorrow. The next time that I will be on, I actually have Sora Sung will be my my guest on Sunday. And then I will have Rob Moltari of Lone Wolf Comics will be on Tuesday. And then on Friday the 10th, I actually have a trilogy of people who will be on here. It'll be Tom Hutchison, CB Zane, and Wendy Shaner. We'll be on here talking about ClickCon. We've got some information that was released just this past Wednesday. And then as I understand it, we've got a couple of reveals that they're going to be doing as well that they wanted to do on my show, which is great. So we're going to be looking forward to that. And then on Saturday, of course, after that, we're going to be having unscripted. Now, for Friday and Saturday, I'm just letting you know that there is I'm going to kind of give a shout out here. IndieCon is going to have we're going to be producing this under their banner. I'll still be doing it on my show, my channels, and all that kind of stuff, but they're also going to be showing it on theirs as well. So we'll be getting a lot more viewers off of this. So the show on the 10th with ClickCon representatives, that'll be under that banner. Also, and I don't know how well this is going to work out and how good of an idea this is, Unscripted is going to be under that banner as well, which is going to get a lot more viewers. And just letting you know, I thought we had a full panel for the next Unscripted. That has now changed because StreamYard is now allowing up to 10 seats to be in here. So if you thought it was mayhem and mass hysteria before, it's about to get a lot more fun. So if you're interested in that, hit me up and we will figure something up. Until then, y'all already know. Keep it indie, y'all. And thank y'all for being here.